Welcome back to our Best Fit series. And today we are tackling, no pun intended, Minnesota Vikings new left tackle, Ezra Cleveland. Now, I say left tackle in his position, not because the expected starter. They still have Riley Reiff in Minnesota. He's under contract until 2021. Now, his 2021 cap number is $11.65 million. So by taking Ezra Cleveland here, the left tackle of Boise State in the second round with the 58th overall selection, Minnesota gives themselves a player that most likely looks like a redshirt year for all intents and purposes, but should give them a viable option as a potential starter in 2021. And if he doesn't progress, you still have Reiff under contract. Now, the bit of context that I want to add on this one before we dive in is the offensive coordinator this year in Minnesota is Gary Kubiak. He was there as an advisor last year. Kevin Stefanski was actually the play caller. He moved on to Cleveland as the head coach. Now, Kubiak has a long history of running an offense that can be similar to what we see with the Shanahan, Mike Shanahan tree. We see it with Kyle now in San Francisco, LaFleur in Green Bay. You see it a bit with Arthur Smith in Tennessee. Certainly see it with McVay with the Rams. A lot of people working off of this tree. Kubiak was one of the first branches off of it. And it bases a lot on outside zone runs and boot and play action type things and pass protection. And their offensive line coach and run game coordinator, Rick Dennison, again, will have his hands on with Ezra here the next few years. Rick and Gary have a long, long history of working together. So I want to look at some different parts of the pass protection here of Mr. Ezra Cleveland and how he performs right now, things that he can do well right now, things he needs to work on right now. And then again, how does that relate to the Minnesota Vikings? So this first one here is just a wide set pass protection. So just from the spacing here that he needs to get out to in order to intersect this 9 technique defensive end really just jumped out. So we'll see the motion. And then that initial pop right out of his stance. So to bring that back, we'll slow it down. Watch how quickly and efficiently he's able to uncoil out of his stance, gain all that ground, reduce that distance almost by half immediately, and now he's in position to patiently ride that rusher over the top. Now, this is the last game of the season here for Boise State, taking on the Washington Huskies. They had 2 Power 5 opponents, started the year with Florida State and finished here with Washington. Now, on this rush, we're going to see him again. He's always going to be our left tackle in this. We're going to see an inside stab move here by the rusher. So the rusher starts with a vertical set, and then boom, here converts on his inside shoulder. So bringing that back. And he's able to get his right arm back underneath it and stay with it for the duration of that play. Now, I will say number 9 doesn't look to be the quality of an NFL power rusher just yet, but at least good to see him get his hands underneath there and match. Again, wanted to see him here in terms of redirection skills. The ability to move to his left and to his right laterally is going to be critically important in the NFL today. So want to see a bit about how Cleveland does in those situations. So we see here he starts to set out towards the defensive end, who goes in a zone drop. He gets his eyes back inside for the next target coming towards him. Redirects with him and even flashes back inside from there. So this is an opportunity for multi-redirect, which is really good stuff. So we see him come out, stop, redirect, power back in, match, redirect again over the top, and stop and redirect another time to finish that play. So he has no problem with the lateral movements, which is important because some players are linear. They can move in a straight line forward. They might have acceleration. They might have foot speed, but they don't necessarily have that side to side. They'll have some stiffness in their hips. Doesn't seem to be the case here with Ezra. So I want to see, does he have the ability to use his hands independently? Meaning, can he use his left and his right one at a time as opposed to having to throw them together? There are absolutely times where you're going to want to throw them at the same time, but is it a mandate for him in order to execute? So we got a 4 technique inside of him here. Obviously another threat outside the screen that we can't see yet. So in this case, we're going to see him set that 4-eye. So he short sets back down. And now again, just pay attention to his left and his right arm and their ability to work independent of each other. Shows the left, pop the right, keep working them back and forth. So he does show the ability to work with his hands in an independent manner. Now, this is one I wanted to point out is more of a coaching point, just an evaluation that we should be careful of. So we're going to see Boise operate this basic half slide type protection here. At least this half line. That's all I'm caring about for this second. I want to see the side that Cleveland's on. What that means is that the center is responsible for any A-gap rusher, the guard's going to be responsible for any B-gap rusher, and he's going to be responsible for any C-gap rusher. Now, what evaluators often do is they're going to see a scenario here where this threat doesn't come, this one does, and they're going to blame him for missing this. When most of the time, again, this is going to be the guard's player here. So just watch this play out. Apologies. It was an inside move. Nonetheless, this player ends up being a B-gap rusher. And again, people are going to give him a hard time because he doesn't power step back down. Now, he is late to it. But this player coming in the B-gap is ultimately the guard's responsibility. So as this thing plays out and he goes inside, the guard should be looking here. The center is looking at 90 already. So if the guard gets his head around, now, what we will say about Cleveland is there's no other immediate threat coming off the edge. So because of that, he can play a little heavier here on the inside and put that body position there. All right, so this is not immediately his fault, but he doesn't react at a time to give his guard any help on that one. So a little bit of an awareness question that you'd want to bring up with his coaches from that standpoint. Now, the knock on Cleveland publicly has been strength. And in looking at how that manifests, I want to look a bit about how he uses his hands, the power that he has in his hands. So we're going to watch this rusher here, and what I want you to pay attention to is how many times Ezra's able to get his hands in and on, and how little that ends up disrupting the rusher's plan, right? When you talk about pop in the hands or strength in the hands, when that offensive lineman delivers their hand, you'd like to see some disruption. You'd like to see a shoulder lift or a head move or something that indicates that that contact is disrupting the rusher. And as we watch this play manifest here, as many times he get his hands on, this rusher is able to continue to work, can actually sink his rip and work the edge. Now, this isn't the best pass rush in the game of football, but again, contact here, plan still working. More contact, plan still working. In fact, the rusher is able to get his body lean into it, sink the rip, and is running around the edge. So Cleveland's in position throughout this. Very balanced, very efficient. But when he places his hands, there's not much authority to it at this point in time. So certainly understanding of people's questions from the power at that point. So I wanted to see him again take on a powerful rush. So in this case, we're going to see an inside move here from Florida State. And I'll point it out to you here in a second. So they run what looks amounts to it, going to be an ET twist type situation. Ends up kind of getting buried in the wash. But as this thing moves forward, so the guard's really taking the brunt of this contact here. But even this force from this angle is knocking Cleveland's leg completely off the ground and back around. You'd like to see when the player gets hip to hip like this and comes to absorb contact that they've got a little more mass in there and they do absorb that contact a little better. I'm not saying the angle's perfect. It's not squared up. It's just not power by himself. In fact, he didn't see a ton of power by himself in the games you're able to get some exposure to. But this is a scenario where even taking on a little bit of the contact here, he's not able to keep his hips in good position because now the gate's open and this rusher has a window to run through. So certainly some understanding, again, of the questions that people have on the power that he's displayed to date. And then one more attempt here with what it's going to amount to a power rush. This is a very slow developing rush, but we are going to see this player get in. And what we don't want to do is you don't want to condense this space that the quarterback wants to operate in. So for the offensive lineman, you can give a little bit, but you certainly don't want to get up on his lap in this particular case. So again, slow developing rush. Now there's contact, and you can see by the end of this play, slow developing as this is, as good a position as he's in, he's got some power angles, he's got some leverage. All right, he's into contact. So just with outside shoulder placement here from this rusher, now we stood him up, still has the right hand in. Now the rusher resets in the middle of the chest, And watch this distance close. Now, the quarterback is stepping that way, fully understanding of that. But let's not kid ourselves. He is getting knocked back literally into the quarterback's lap as that ball gets completed. So if we're going to talk about a player in the NFL today, you're going to see some reps here for why that ability to mirror is so critical that we saw in the early sets from Cleveland, but also, well, the ability to mirror with the ability to power and anchor in there is going to be just as critical. So what I wanted to do is take a look at a player that Minnesota has started here the last couple of years, and Brian O'Neill. Ironically, he was also a second-round pick, 62nd overall. So Cleveland and O'Neill taken 4 picks apart in 2018, 2020, respectively. Another thing that stood out to me, O'Neill stands around 6'7", came out of college around 300 pounds, 34-inch arms, and had a 3-cone and a short shuttle that were in the 98th percentile and the 91st percentile, respectively. Then I looked at Cleveland, 6'6", just over 300 pounds, about 33.5-inch arms. His short shuttle and 3-cone, also 98th percentile, and he was even a little better with 94th percentile in the short shuttle. So from a body type and measurable standpoint, very comparable. High-end athletes, very long. But O'Neill here with Minnesota, O'Neill's knock was also a lack of strength. That kept him from being an immediate contributor and took him some time to continue to work on his body and build that out. And so now we're going to get a chance to see what he looks like 3 years or a couple of years into the league here. So this is going to be a development path that Minnesota just went down with O'Neill that's going to be important for Cleveland's development. So we have Bosa here with the Chargers, and we're going to see, again, a wide-angle pass set and the ability to mirror and wash over the top. O'Neill does a good job getting on the shoulder and taking them all the way through. So we can see where that ability to get out of your stance, uncoil, gain distance, get a half-man relationship, and carry a rusher over the top can be really important. So again, we have O'Neill here. Now we have DeMarcus Lawrence. And again, we're going to look at where the redirect becomes really important and the independent hand use becomes important, because Lawrence is going to do his almost patented now. He's got combines a little bit of a hesitation move with his cross chop. It's really a unique pass rush set here that he puts together. So I'll slow it down, and then I'll run it back at full speed. So he comes in with an inside angle, gets him set up, gets him to stop his feet. And now he's brought this arm across. He's collapsing the outside shoulder with this jump move that he has, which gets his hips clear. Now he sinks his rip and runs that over the top. This is a heck of a combination that an NFL tackle is going to have to deal with. I don't doubt that Cleveland has the ability to gain that ground, put himself in a position, but right now, Lawrence's hand use is going to be far superior because the power that he brings is going to be a difficult thing to match. So something, again, Cleveland's going to have to work on, but it'll take these kind of rushers by himself. And then because we've had such questions publicly, and certainly we're seeing some of it here in this clip, as to power, wanted to see him against one of the most effective power rushers in the league, Cameron Jordan of the New Orleans Saints. So again, we're going to watch O'Neill here take on power. Jordan's able to get a good angle. He's coming. He's got a good body position angle. He's not square. He's pointed right at the quarterback, which is a very difficult set for the offensive lineman to take on. So you can see here when he drops his head. No one's going to like that. But when he gets his hands in here, now he gets under the chin. Again, we're going to talk about flags. I'm a D-line guy, so you're going to hear me complain. But you want to have that disruption. Now, he gets away with one here, but he certainly disrupts this and then is able to get back into position. So I'm not advocating that Cleveland get up under the chin and collect flags, but certainly something that he's going to need to work on and deal with NFL power rushers. So now we're back at looking at Cleveland here. Wanted to see him in the run game, the run blocking, this wide zone that we see so much with Minnesota and under this Kubiak system. So he's going to end up reaching pretty wide angle here. Now, as this guy's eyes aren't great, but again, just from an athletic situation, the ability to get across and finish this reach block is one of the things that I'm sure got Minnesota excited. Now we want to look at him in some combo. Here he is again, left tackle. These guys are going to be working together to this backer. So I want to see how does he do with matching at the first level, and then can he get off, climb, and actually cover at the second level. We're going to see that he has the ability to do so. Good timing, get on top of the linebacker, and pin him in. Similar thing here in terms of their comboing, different angle though. So he's going to have to come off and try to seal differently than he did on the last block. So we're going to see Ezra execute here. Good hit, good fit. Now that's the problem. Right there. He's fitting with body position. He's covering, but he's not hitting with intent. He's not hitting with power. And so now he gets his leg trapped underneath him here. But he gets himself in this bad position because he doesn't make great contact. His pad level is above. Now he ends up getting off balance and thrown down, where if he would have been able to come up right here where he sees it, stay low right there, and not get tall through contact. He's got to stay with a better body position. Some of this end wouldn't have manifested quite that way. So you can see some of the areas that he can tighten up a little bit. So again, looking at O'Neal working in the Kubiak system, let's look at some combo action. They're going to bring motion across here, set these guys up, and we're going to see him be able to work off of a down lineman to the linebacker level. Contact, good, stay on it, climb, and cover again. Clearly things Cleveland can do immediately. Now let's look at a reach. Here we have O'Neal, Vayshawn Robinson, obviously big, stout player here, working at the 5. He's got to get across him without allowing much knockback. He absolutely gets across. The judgmental piece will be how much knockback are you comfortable with on the front side without bubbling the running back trying to come across. So this is how you can get your head across and then staying on top of that with that body position. You can see where Cook is trying to find angles, but he keeps seeing his lineman getting knocked back, and he's trying to cheat around it, and it makes it difficult here as opposed to getting across and really sealing that player inside. So, again, Minnesota's got some work to do with Cleveland. Ton of tools here to work with. You can see the fit in their pass game. You can see the fit in their run blocking. And this is what's going to be giving them hope. When you have a play like this, that you can get this guy and you can continue to work him and work his body in a position where it can be really impactful. And you want these guys that want to finish. They want to be physical. And this is the type of stuff that's probably given them some good feeling about what they've got going on, is a guy that's going to want to stay in and finish like this. Again, he's not there against NFL competition just yet, but definitely some room and some signs that he can be.